So I'm just going to jump onto the Minister and ask a couple of follow-up questions, if I may. Thank you so much. That was a really inspirational start to the conference. I wonder if I could ask you just to say a little bit more. I know part of your portfolio is the Pacific region, and we know the challenges around SDG 6, and indeed all of the SDGs are huge, but do you have some thoughts about the specific challenges and opportunities that you can see from the Australian government's point of view in the Pacific?
Look, I think when you've got the Pacific certainly has challenges, but it also, I think, has opportunities. It is disappointing to see the statistics in terms of the access to safe water has declined, but also some, safe drinking water, basic sanitation. The statistics are not what they should be. But I think when you are dealing with small economies, you do have to look at, dealing with the basic problems. I mean, 7 of the 10 most disaster-prone countries are in the Pacific. So we are seeing the effects of climate events, and so therefore we have to come at this not just from a water and sanitation problem, but we also have to look at it from the compounding issues that come with an area that is regrettably prone to disasters, and that's part of the work that we're doing as part of our framework for resilient and disaster preparedness. A very important component of that are women and girls, and so that's really important. The other thing that we are seeing is how much of the issues in relation to water and sanitation are actually as a consequence of the storm surges that do occur in the Pacific. So as I travel around, for example, in countries I've seen where we've had to adapt, and that's very important. We talk about mitigation, we talk about adaptation. So in the Pacific, we've really had to look at ways that we can ensure that water is accessible, but is accessible in ways that deals with the issues. And I think irrespective of what the views are in relation to climate and the causes of climate change, the reality is that we in the Pacific have to deal with the next disaster. We have to deal with that. We will get another tsunami, we will get another cyclone, we'll get another earthquake, and so that's how we approach it from that perspective. So in terms of, as I've said, our focus on Pacific women shaping Pacific development, some of our other programs, water and sanitation are an integral part of the work that we do. As I mentioned, our annual spend is about $106 million in the wash space, if I can put it that way, and the Pacific, of course, is an integral part. Australia spends about $4 billion per annum on overseas development assistance. 90% of that is spent in the Indo-Pacific. A third of that is actually spent in the Pacific itself. So the Pacific offers us, as I said, challenges, but it also offers us innovative opportunities, and that's part of we have to look at different ways that we can deal with these problems. So we're up for new ideas. So that's why we're looking forward to some of the outcomes of this conference, and put your thinking caps on for all sorts of different ideas, which we're very, very happy to look at and entertain.
So I can encourage everybody to go to the Pacific session, particularly tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And if I could just ask you one follow-up question more generally on the issue of gender and women and girls. Perhaps just your thoughts on how do you think we're doing in that space? How optimistic do you feel?
Look, I think it's still one of those challenging areas. Having said that, when you do see those practical things that we do, I went to a village in Papua New Guinea, and just the putting the infrastructure added to a village where there were communal showers and toilets has just made a huge difference. Those communal showers and those communal toilets have meant that not only are the women, and of course the water facilities that go with it, not only are the women saving the time from having to go and cart the water, because it's always the women that inevitably, and the young girls who then miss out at school because they're doing things. And In particular, I think that some of the work that we're doing in terms of helping young girls deal with the menstrual issues is going to make a huge difference to young women. And as a consequence, I'm a strong believer that if you empower a woman, you empower her family, you empower her, her family, and in turn her community. And you enable her to make her contribution to her society. And we've seen some of the statistics. So in the Women in Space, Australia has, as part of our aid program, our target that 80% of our aid has a gender focus on it. And last year, whilst we didn't quite get to the 80%, we got to 78%. What that's actually meant is that as we've worked with governments in terms of our aid investment plans, which we have aid investment plans or investment or MOUs with different countries in relation to aid, it's actually made people stop and think, well, how can I be a bit more gender focused in what we're doing? So I think putting that marker in has made a difference in terms of how governments, how programs can be a lot more gender focused. And in this case, particularly the water, sanitation and hygiene programs can be a lot more gender focused. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those very optimistic and positive remarks, which I think set us off on a really great cause.
We have to be optimistic, Professor.
I think
we have
do.
to be very, very optimistic.
I think we
Thank you
do.
very, very
Thank you
much.
so
Thanks
much.
a lot. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.